In this example, I'm going to go through showing you how to do a bit of fluid simulation in Blender. And here you can see I've got a very simple structure. Let's stop that. My computer's quite old and slow. But if I go back to the beginning, I have like a little cup here. I have something that will bring the liquid out, like a tap or something like that. And when I press play, you can see the liquid coming through. I'll do a stop. I'm also running in Eevee because my computer's quite slow, so I want it sort of relatively fast. But if you want something better, of course, don't forget you can change it to cycles. So I'll do a new document. I won't save that. I'll X that out and I'll add a cylinder and 32 is fine. GZ1 to move it up, enter. And for me, I do a right mouse click select, so it's the W key to do shade auto smooth, or you can right mouse click if you do a left mouse click select and you'll get the drop down menu. It's still not perfectly smooth, as you can see. We've still got some sort of lines there, but I can always add a subdivision surface modifier, which makes it look really weird, but I can always tab in, Control R, and do a couple of loops, tab out of that, and let's increase that. Go, and let's go to, let's deselect, face view, click on the face, I to inset, there you go, see it's got much better, and E to go down, and Control R, we go down, and let's select face again, click there, and I can do I. There you go. So I get a better result, and I can click on that and do I and tab out. And there you go. See, I got a much smoother result. Now, let's go to front view and orthographic and let's zoom out. I haven't got a camera yet. I'll come to that in a minute. But when you're dealing with something like fluid simulation, we need to tell Blender to look in a certain area, because if you don't, you don't want Blender to look at your whole scene, which is basically, it could be as large, it's like infinite. You don't want that because it will just kill your computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a cuboid, cube first, GZ1, scale X, scale Y. I'm going to go up, not Y, scale Z. Let's go up, and now scale Y, something like that. Now, this is going to be the boundary that the fluid simulation is going to work in. Everything outside is not going to function. It's not going to be rendered. So what I need to do, because this is not going to render, I don't need that, but I do want to see it. So I'll go to the object data here, and I'll go to visibility. Oh no, here we go, viewport display, not visibility. And what I want is not display as textured, but wire. There you go, see? So this is sort of the area within which I want it to do the animation. And I'll tab into that, GZ up a bit. There you go. This is going to be the domain. So I want physics, and if I roll over here, the little solar system on the right, I'll click on that, and I want a fluid, so I'll click on fluid, and the type will be domain. Domain is going to be the area within which Blender does all the animation, the fluid calculation. Flow will be the input into the domain of the liquid, or the output, like a sinkhole. So a tap would be a flow out, and a sink would be a flow in. I know it's weird, but that's how they do it. And the effector is basically something that will affect with the fluid, that the fluid affects. So we'll do domain for this, and I'm going to keep it all as the standard default, except the domain type needs to change to gas. And unfortunately, it resets that as well. So let's go back there again, change this to wire. Go back to physics, so that's liquid. I'll leave all these alone. I will now click on our little cup fluid, and this is going to be an infector. And again, I'll leave the defaults. And what I need next is I want somewhere from which the liquid will come in. So I'm going to do Shift A, and let's do an icosphere. It doesn't matter what. There we go. And I will do it fluid and type flow. And the flow type will be set to liquid. And the flow behavior will be an outflow. Oh no, an inflow. That's it. So because it comes in to the simulation, whereas out gets deleted. And as you can see, as I roll over, it tells me. So an inflow to come in. So I'll click on that. Hopefully I've got that right. And let's get a new window down here, and I want a timeline, and I've got 300 seconds, and I'm doing a frame rate as normal of 30 frames per second, but that doesn't matter too much. But let's see what we get now just with those settings, and I do spacebar to play, and there we go. Now it is being affected, as you can see, but it's going through really the glass. And I suspect, or our cup, whatever you want to call it, I suspect, let's space that, go back to the beginning, it may be not thick enough. See? So let's tab into that. And what I want to do, let's have a look. Let's go to Edge, select these, and do Scale Shift Z. Scale on everything apart from the Z. Control R, let's add another loop cut there. There you go. So can you see we've got it thicker? And let's see what happens now. Nope, still going through. So that might be maybe the bottom. So let's tab in, click on Alt right mouse click, Alt Shift right mouse click. And I think, have I got the right ones? GZ up. I think there's another one there as well. Let's go to wireframe. Bit difficult to see sometimes. And I think I've got, let's undo the scale. Have I got everything? Ah, there's another one. No, that one. Let's have a look. It looks like, yeah, there we go. There was another one. There you go. So now S for scale, Shift Z, scale on everything apart from the Z. There you go. That's better. That's better. There you go. And Alt right mouse click, Alt Shift right mouse click, Alt Shift right mouse click. There you go. And let's do GZ up. Tab out. And let's go to solid view. Oh yes, and I need another ring there. Control R. Go. There you go. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see what happens now. Yeah, see, it's still going through. So I suspect it might be a collision in the mathematics here. So let's have a look. I'll click on the effector and surface thickness. Let's play around with that. So I'm going to, let's do a stop there. And you can see it's basically producing a skin around which can be used as part of the shape. So let's increase that. And let's wait for it to start again. Let's see what happens. Yes, no, not really. Let's sampling. You can increase to make it more sort of more accurate. I think that's made too much. Let's increase the surface thickness quite a bit. You should always stop and start again from the beginning. That's better. There you go. That's better. That's better, as you can see. So let's reduce these sampling sub-steps. Stop, go back to the beginning, play again. So I increase the surface thickness so it doesn't sort of go through our cup, as it were. And that works quite well. If I click on my liquid flow here, again, we can give an initial velocity, a flow source. So this is coming from the mesh. Is planar. It will treat it as a plane. There you go. You see the difference there, and you see it bouncing out quite a lot. Let's go back to the beginning. So let's not do it as planar. And surface emission. This is the distance between the object that's emitting the liquid and the visibility of the liquid that when it comes in. So if we wanted this to work as a tap or something like that, then what I can do is I can, in fact, let's Shift D, Z, rotate Y 180, scale it down. Let's go to wireframe view. There it is, you see. So we can think of this as our, let's go to solid view, as our tap, the one on top. It's an effector as well, not that it matters too much. So if I do a space now, you see there it is, there it goes. And I can do scale, Shift Z. There you go. So inside is the object that is emitting our fluid, and this outside is just really for visual reference. Let's add material. Let's see if we can get a material on it. So I'll go to my asset library. You probably won't have this, but don't worry about that. And here we go. I've got, here we go, a simple chocolate material. So I'm going to add this to, actually not there. Let's hide that for the moment. Let's add this to that. And let's go to our material preview. And for this, let's add a simple ceramic. And I will unhide the cylinder and I'll do simple ceramic on that as well. There you go, nothing complicated. And let's hide that again. Spacebar. Now, let's see if I can. Yes, it does it on the object, but it's not doing it on the liquid. So that's something I've got to. Let's do a spacebar. Let's have a look if there's a way of changing the material of the liquid. That's the simple chocolate. Let's go to render view, see what we get. Because it's not letting me. Let's go to perspective as well. This is my HDRI. And in fact, actually, just to make it easier, where have I put it? Oh, ignore that. No. Here we go, film. In our TV screen, our render properties, transparent, there you go. So I don't need to see the background. Let's go to our physics. Maybe on the domain. No. By the way, in that I'm on the domain, the outside cube, or cuboid rather, and you can see there's a whole load of options you can play around with. Particle radius, sampling, etc., etc. Viscosity. If I tick that, let's increase that and see what we get. Particles, which I don't want. Mesh. Let's click on this again. Let's go back to the, let's close that. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's see what we get. The viscosity, I think, too high. Let's click on that. And let's go to, what was it? Here we go. Viscosity, let's say 0.2. No, let's get rid of that. Spacebar, go back to the beginning. There we go. So let's make it 0.01. Go back to the beginning. There you go. So now we're getting, although it's going off to the side for some reason, but there you go. Can you see it's not bouncing as much? And can you see now it's a lot more viscous, a lot more sticky. It's interesting that it sort of goes to one side. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but you can have a lot of fun with this. But what I want to find is where can I set it as a mesh. And you see how the viscosity works. It's a lot more sticky now. Let's spacebar that. And I'll pause and I'll go and have a look to see where I can find the options for changing the material. Right, I found it. If I do a spacebar and just move on, there you go. We're just seeing these particles. And if I click on the domain, I had to select the domain, and under domain on the right hand side, as I scroll down, there is a mesh option, which is off. And if I click on the mesh option, it will now, I'll do a stop, come back to the beginning and play. And there we go. And now I get, as you can see, the gloopy mesh, which is our fluid. And now with it selected, as you can see, it's selected. I can now choose that as simple chocolate. Spacebar to stop, go back to the beginning, play. And there you go. I'll wait for it to go in a bit, then I'll do a quick render to show you. Let's stop. And let's do, on my machine, it's an F12. Oh, I haven't got a camera. So Shift A, let's add a camera. And let's move it off. Let's look at it. G. And what I'm going to do is, oh, there we go. There you go. Let's move it down a bit. Actually, no, let's move it up. I want to see it going inside. And let's move it around. Move in. There we go. And let's do an F12. And let's see what we get. And there we go. We've got some fluid. I'm not going to wait for the whole thing, but at least we get a rough example. Let's close that down and you'll have to wait for my computer. But I will now decrease the viscosity. So let's get it a bit more fluid, like a chocolate milkshake instead of like a sort of melted chocolate thing. And I'll just pause there quickly and come back. There we go. Now I need to select my domain. So I really should name these. So that'll be tap, but I'll hide that for the moment. Icosphere, let's do source. Cylinder, let's call this cup. And the cube should be the domain. And let's go back. And now why is it not showing? Okay, let's go back to the beginning. Okay, maybe it's just showing it. Okay, oh, there it is. So this is a bit weird, but that's how it displays. Okay, so that's the domain. And let's look at the physics. Scroll down, viscosity. Let's take off viscosity and let's do, go to camera view, do spacebar now. And there we go. A lot more fluid. And that works actually quite nicely. Save. Oh, sorry, spacebar, then save. I'll do a render F12 and let's have a quick look at what we get. And there we go. So what I'm going to do next, I'll do a pause and I will then render the animation to show you the video result. Now it's just been a split second for you, but for me, let's click back here. This is the last frame. It's about 300 frames and it took about 2 minutes per frame approximately. And so that's 600 minutes, that's over 10 hours. So my machine is quite old, but for things like this, it takes a long time to render. And so, for example, this is what the final result is. So 1 frame, and here we got the chocolate coming out. I haven't done smooth shading, but you can select the mesh and right mouse click and do smooth shading, or press the W key if you use a right mouse select like I do. And the video came out all right. It wasn't perfect. Here's the video, and I'll just do spacebar. And here we go, coming out. But as you can see, I've got an issue on the edges here. It came straight through. So, and then bang, it goes to that. So I don't know why, but it didn't do a bad job at the beginning. But somewhere here, for some reason, it goes through the walls of the container. But at least it gives me something to start from, and it works quite well. And I probably have to adjust the settings, but that's how you create a fluid and give it a material and then render it out. And again, I'm using the Eevee engine, but also I'm doing a higher resolution here and a 30 frames per second and 300 frames. So obviously you can reduce the frame rate or the number of frames, like maybe only do 60 or something like that to see what you get. And then you can output to, as I did, an FF MPEG video with an MPEG-4 format, which is an MP4 basically. So that's how you do your basic fluid setup in Blender.